You know your agency has a problem when it buys cutting-edge technology, then assigns it to whoever rebooted the router last without crying. Public safety keeps buying smarter tools, but too often nobody owns the mission of making them actually work. That's coming up next on TiPS, Today in Public Safety.
Welcome to TiPS, Today in Public Safety, your go-to podcast for today's breaking stories and public safety news. Here's your host, Fletch, with today's tips.
Welcome to TiPS, Today in Public Safety. This is Fletch. I'm a NENA-certified ENP, and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I bring you the latest, most informative, and sometimes painfully overdue takes on emergency communications and public safety technology. Today we're diving into a smart article from Police One, Why Every Police Agency Needs a Dedicated Tech Unit. Now, even though the article is written from a law enforcement perspective, this issue is much bigger than policing. It applies to dispatch centers, emergency management, school safety, and frankly, any public safety organization that depends on software, data, cameras, drones, mobile devices, analytics, digital evidence, or integrated systems. In other words, if your mission depends on technology, then technology should no longer be a side gig. It's part of the mission. Yet that's where a lot of agencies still get it wrong. I found that one of the best points of the article was that IT support and a dedicated operational tech unit are not the same thing. IT keeps the systems alive. They keep the network up, the laptops working, the email moving, and the infrastructure from falling apart. A dedicated tech unit, on the other hand, is different. That team focuses on the operational tools that support the mission. That includes digital evidence systems, drones, body camera platforms, surveillance analytics, field technology, and making sure that all of it is actually usable when something real happens. Why? Because tools don't deploy themselves. Tools don't train users. They don't write policy. They don't test workflows. And they definitely don't fix themselves at 2 o'clock in the morning during a major incident. It takes ownership. And ownership should not be random. I think that too many agencies out there do this backwards. They buy a platform, bring in a vendor, get a demo, and sit through a few PowerPoint slides. Then if they buy it, they just toss the technology onto the organization, kind of like a live raccoon, and hope everybody just figures it out. That's not a strategy. That's chaos with a login screen. Another strong point that struck me from Belanger's article is that agencies need to rethink who they hire into these roles. Not every tech expert looks like the classic public safety command type personality. Sometimes the best person for the job is the one who is curious, methodical, hands-on, and knows how to troubleshoot under pressure. He talks about looking for people with real-world technical instinct, not just polished resumes or interview performance. And when you think about it, that makes perfect sense, because public safety has a bad habit of confusing confidence with competence. Sometimes you get both, and that's fantastic, but sometimes that person who talks the biggest game, especially about technology, is also the one most likely to click the wrong thing, break the workflow, and blame the vendor in response. A dedicated tech unit needs people who actually like learning systems, documenting processes, maintaining readiness, testing tools, and keeping up with the change in the industry. Because technology in public safety doesn't sit still. It evolves constantly. And if nobody inside the agency owns that evolution, the agency falls behind fast. Belanger also makes the point that leadership does not need to be technical experts, but they do need to understand the value of these units in order to support them. And I think that part matters a lot, because if leadership views tech support as optional, then these units are always the first to get cut, reassigned, underfunded, or chopped when staffing gets tight. Then the backlog grows, the systems drift, the tools go stale, and everybody wonders why the shiny investment is not delivering results. It's unfortunate, but public safety does this all the time. We love buying technology. What we're not always great at is funding the people, the process, the training, and the maintenance needed to make that technology useful. We buy the dashboard, we forget the operator. We buy the integration, but forget the testing. And we buy the tool, but forget the ownership. And then later, usually during some ugly failure, we suddenly rediscover the value of planning. Belanger also points out that agencies that don't build this capability internally end up depending too heavily on outside partners, federal partners, neighboring jurisdictions, outside specialists, vendors, or borrowed resources that can all help, but they're not a substitute for in-house capability. This is just as true in 911 as it is in policing. If your ECC needs to depend on outside magic every time there's a CAD issue, a GIS problem, or a recorder failure, or a routing issue, a cybersecurity scare, or camera integration problem, then you don't really have resilience. You got dependency wearing a nice uniform. Partners matter. Vendors matter. Mutual aid matters. But those things should be extending your capability, not replacing it. Because when everybody is busy and the vendor's support queue is backed up and the incident is unfolding faster than the help desk can answer, it's your internal readiness that saves you. Reality check. Here's the reality check. A lot of agencies do not have a technology shortage. They've got an ownership shortage. The systems are there, the software is there, the subscriptions are definitely there. What's missing is a dedicated operational team that's responsible for turning all of that into real mission capability. And as AI, analytics, automation, and digital evidence continue to expand, the problem gets more serious, not less. The bad guys are already using better tools, and the public is expecting faster results. Data keeps growing, systems keep multiplying. And you can't run a modern public safety mission with a 1998 mindset and a shared spreadsheet. The bottom line is this. Every modern public safety agency needs dedicated operational technology support. Maybe it starts as a small team. Maybe it starts as just one strong lead and a roadmap. But it needs to start. Because we have IT is not the same as we have mission-ready tech capabilities. And we bought the technology isn't the same as we built the program. Once again, full credit to Detective Shannon Belanger and Police One for the article that inspired this episode. Check out the March 16th issue, Why Every Police Agency Needs a Dedicated Tech Unit. It's a strong reminder that technology is no longer an accessory in public safety. It's part of the front line. If your agency keeps adding digital tools, but nobody truly owns them operationally, then you don't have modernization. You've got future failure with great branding. That wraps up this episode of TiPS Today in Public Safety. Thanks so much for listening. For more updates and insights, you can follow me on social media at Fletch911. And don't forget to check out 911tips.com for a complete archive of our previous episodes. My blogs are available online at Fletch.tv, and my professional website is Fletch911.com. Stay safe, thanks so much for listening, and if you're in public safety, thanks for what you do every single day. I'll see you next time. Take care.
You've been listening to TiPS Today in Public Safety, your go-to podcast for today's breaking stories and public safety news. Hosted by Fletch and available every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Catch past episodes on 911tips.com. Be sure to like and subscribe, and remember to join us each week for the latest on NG 911. I am Spider Harrison, the official 911 voiceover dude. Catch me on SiriusXM on various channels, including 90s on 9, the 10 spot, and on the weekend countdown on Hits 1. Or don't regret it for the rest of your life. Either way, I'm good.